You do not need to fight witchcraft. You do not need to fear curses, shadows, or unseen enemies. Anything that truly has power over you must first enter through your mind. Today, I will show you a simple 3-minute discipline, not to attack, not to defend, but to return all that does not belong to you, not with anger, not with fear, but with stillness. Because nothing survives in the presence of awareness. When people hear the word witchcraft, their body tightens. The mind immediately looks outward, searching for an enemy, a face, a reason. This reaction is natural, but it is also where the real danger begins. Because the moment you believe power lives outside of you, you have already given something away. What most people call witchcraft is not always a ritual performed in the dark. More often, it is intention sent without consent. It is unresolved jealousy, suppressed resentment, silent anger, or the desire to see another person diminished so one can feel taller. These forces do not travel through the air like arrows. They move through attention, belief, and emotional openings. Understand this clearly. Nothing enters your life unless there is space for it. Fear creates space. Obsession creates space. The constant habit of blaming others creates space. When you walk through life feeling targeted, unlucky, or cursed, the mind stays open in the wrong direction. It is like leaving your door unlocked and then wondering why the wind keeps entering. The wind is not powerful. The open door is. True strength begins when you stop asking, who is doing this to me? And instead ask, what inside me is responding to this? This question does not weaken you. It returns authority to where it belongs. Responsibility is not self-blame. Responsibility is ownership. And ownership is the end of all spiritual attack, because once you own your inner state, nothing external can override it. Most people want protection without discipline. They want rituals without awareness. They want shields without stillness. But protection is not built by fighting shadows. It is built by clarity. A clear mind does not attract confusion. A calm nervous system does not invite chaos. When someone senses negativity, it only lands if there is already turbulence waiting to receive it. This is why fear-based thinking is more dangerous than any external influence. Fear amplifies imagination. Imagination feeds belief. Belief programs the body, and the body, once convinced, begins to live out the story it has accepted. This is how people become trapped without realizing the door was always open from the inside. The moment you understand that witchcraft is not power over you, but information about your internal boundaries, everything changes. You stop reacting, you stop defending, you stop giving energy to what does not deserve your attention. You stand upright, grounded, and quiet. And in that quiet, nothing finds a place to attach. Remember this, no curse is stronger than awareness, no intention survives without permission, and no darkness can remain where responsibility is fully claimed. Many people believe salt itself is the power. They think it is the substance that protects, cleanses, or repels. This misunderstanding keeps them dependent on objects instead of discipline. Salt is not magic. It does not fight anything. It does not chase away darkness. Salt is a symbol, and symbols only work when the mind behind them is steady. Without awareness, salt is just salt. With awareness, it becomes a reminder of order. Salt has always represented preservation, boundaries, and clarity. It keeps things from decaying. It separates what is usable from what is not. When you work with salt consciously, you are not asking it to save you. You are reminding yourself that your inner space has rules. And where there are rules, chaos cannot stay. This is why the ritual is simple and short. 3 minutes is not about time. It is about attention. During those moments, you are not performing something mysterious. You are training the nervous system to settle. You are telling the mind, here is the boundary. This is where I stand. The body listens when the message is clear and calm. It does not listen when the message is desperate. People who fear spiritual attack often live without structure. Their sleep is irregular. Their thoughts run unchecked. Their emotions rise and fall without discipline. Then they search for protection outside themselves. But salt does not replace order in your life. It points you back to it. It asks one question. Are you living with clarity, or are you scattered, When you hold salt or place it intentionally, you are practicing containment. You are saying, I decide what enters. Not with force, not with aggression, with simplicity. This is why excess rituals weaken people. The more complicated the action, the more the mind believes it is powerless without it. True strength is quiet. It does not need performance. Salt teaches stillness because it does nothing dramatic. It does not burn. It does not explode. It rests. And in resting, it preserves. This is how protection works in real life, not through constant movement, but through grounded presence. A person who is settled cannot be shaken easily. A person who knows where they stand does not leak energy. If you rush the ritual, if your mind is loud, if your intention is revenge or fear, then the salt reflects that state back to you. Not because it failed, but because it showed you the truth. The ritual is not there to change the world. It is there to reveal your condition. Once you understand this, you stop asking whether salt is strong enough. You ask whether your awareness is steady enough. Because when the mind is clear and the body is calm, even the simplest action becomes powerful. And when discipline replaces superstition, protection becomes effortless. Most people misunderstand what a ritual is meant to do. They believe it is a weapon, something that strikes outward, something that pushes back, attacks, or punishes whatever they believe is harming them. This mindset keeps them locked in conflict. And wherever there is conflict, energy continues to flow. The ritual you are learning is not designed to fight anything. It is designed to reveal. It is a mirror, not a weapon. When something negative is directed toward you, the instinct is to react, to defend, to send something back with force. But reaction is agreement. The moment you react emotionally, you confirm that the influence has authority over you. This is why many people feel exhausted after spiritual practice is meant to protect them. They are still fighting, just in a different form. A mirror works differently. A mirror does not chase, it does not argue, it does not judge, it simply reflects. When you stand in front of it, you see exactly what is there. The same principle applies here. When your inner state is calm and contained, anything that arrives without belonging finds nothing to attach to. It is not pushed away. It dissolves through irrelevance. This is what sending back truly means. It does not mean returning harm. It means returning ownership. What is not yours cannot stay, and what cannot stay must return to where it came from, not because you forced it, but because there was no place for it to remain. This requires maturity. The desire for revenge keeps the door open. The desire for justice keeps the mind agitated. But neutrality closes the door completely. Many people ask, what if the intention sent toward me is strong? Strength only matters when there is resistance. Wind has power only against a surface that pushes back. When there is openness without attachment, even strong forces pass through without impact. This is not weakness. This is mastery. The ritual teaches you to stop carrying what does not belong to you. Notice how often people absorb moods, tensions, and fears that were never theirs. Someone enters a room angry, and suddenly the air feels heavy. This happens because the body is unguarded, not protected by walls, but by awareness. When awareness is present, emotions are observed, not absorbed. During the ritual, the hands, the salt, the silence, none of these are the source of power. They are anchors. They bring you back into the body. They slow the breath. They interrupt the constant mental noise that makes you vulnerable. In this slowed state, the nervous system resets, and a regulated system does not host foreign disturbance. This is why simplicity matters. The ego wants drama. It wants chants, gestures, complexity, but complexity feeds identity, and identity feeds attachment. The quieter the ritual, the less the ego interferes. The less the ego interferes, the less there is to attack. You may notice that after practicing this, certain people drift away, certain conversations lose their grip, certain fears stop repeating themselves. This is not coincidence. When you stop participating energetically, the connection weakens. Nothing can feed where there is no response. Understand this deeply. You are not rejecting others. You are rejecting intrusion. You are not closing your heart. You are closing leaks. Compassion can remain without absorption. Awareness can remain without entanglement. People often believe protection is something active, something loud, something that must constantly move. They think safety comes from doing more, saying more, reacting faster. But the truth is quieter. Stillness is not absence. Stillness is command. And this is why it becomes the strongest shield you will ever develop. When the mind is restless, it sends signals outward. It searches, anticipates, imagines threats before they arrive. In this state, the body is open, reactive, and porous. Everything passes through too easily. But when the mind becomes still, something shifts. The breath deepens. The nervous system slows. The body stops broadcasting vulnerability. Nothing needs to be pushed away because nothing finds an entry point. Silence interrupts influence, not because silence is empty, but because it is full of presence, full of awareness. External forces rely on movement inside you. Emotional spikes, racing thoughts, unconscious reactions. When those movements stop, influence loses traction. Chaos cannot grip calm. Noise cannot attach to silence. During the 3 minutes of the ritual, stillness matters more than any gesture. If the hands move but the mind wanders, nothing settles. If the salt is present but the breath is shallow and rushed, the body remains open. Stillness is the moment you step back into yourself completely. It is when attention stops leaking outward and returns home. Many people are uncomfortable with stillness because it exposes their inner state. In silence, unresolved thoughts rise. Old fears surface. The body wants to escape. This discomfort is not danger. It is information. Stillness shows you where discipline is missing, and once you see it, you can no longer be controlled by it. A calm mind does not negotiate with fear. It does not argue with imagined threats. It simply observes. And observation without judgment dissolves disturbance. This is why those who cultivate stillness appear untouchable, not because nothing comes toward them, but because nothing stays. Think of a clear lake. When the surface is calm, it reflects the sky perfectly. Throw a stone into it, and the ripples fade quickly. But a lake already in turmoil remains disturbed long after. Stillness is not preventing the stone from being thrown. It is ensuring the impact cannot last. This is how the shield works, not as a wall, but as depth. Shallow water reacts violently. Deep water absorbs without disruption. When your inner world gains depth through stillness, external disturbances lose their power to shake you. Stillness also teaches patience, and patience dismantles urgency. Urgency is what pulls you into reaction. It convinces you something must be done immediately, emotionally, forcefully. But most influences survive only because of haste. When you slow down, they starve. In stillness, the ego has nothing to hold on to. It cannot dramatize. It cannot defend an image. And without ego interference, awareness expands naturally. This expanded awareness is what people mistake for peace, protection. But it is simply presence, undivided and steady. When stillness becomes familiar, you stop seeking shields. You stop fearing intrusion. You trust your state. And in that trust you stand unmovable, not because you resist, but because there is nothing inside you that can be shaken. At some point, every person who walks this path realizes a difficult truth. Nothing truly changes until responsibility is taken. Not partial responsibility, not responsibility for appearances, full responsibility for one's inner state. This is where most people hesitate, because responsibility has been misunderstood as guilt or blame. It is neither. Responsibility is the moment you stop outsourcing your power. When you believe something or someone has control over your peace, you remain tied to it. Even resistance keeps the connection alive. But the moment you say, "What happens inside me is my domain," the link dissolves. This is why responsibility ends all spiritual attacks. There is no access point left. Many people unknowingly maintain disturbances by constantly monitoring them. They watch for signs, interpret coincidences, scan their emotions for proof. This attention feeds the very thing they want gone. Responsibility breaks this loop. It shifts attention inward, toward regulation rather than surveillance. Taking responsibility means observing your thoughts without immediately believing them. It means noticing emotional spikes without acting on them. It means recognizing when the body is tense and choosing to settle it. These choices seem small, but they are decisive. Every time you regulate yourself, you close a door. Blaming others feels easier in the moment. It gives the mind a target, but it also gives away authority. Responsibility does the opposite. It returns authority to the center. From that center, you no longer need protection because you are no longer exposed. This does not mean ignoring harm or pretending everything is acceptable. It means responding from clarity rather than reaction. A reactive response invites continuation. A responsible response ends the exchange. This is maturity, not passivity. When responsibility is fully claimed, the narrative changes. You stop asking why things happen to you and start noticing how you meet them. The focus shifts from control to alignment, and alignment has a stabilizing effect on everything around you. Notice how disciplined people attract less chaos. Their lives are simpler. Their interactions are cleaner. This is not luck, it is consequence. Responsibility creates order. Order leaves no space for intrusion. Once you accept responsibility, you stop performing rituals out of fear. You use them as reminders. The ritual becomes a pause, a reset, not a defense mechanism. And because it is no longer charged with desperation, it becomes effective. This is the final turning point. When responsibility is embraced, there is nothing left to fight, no enemy to watch, no threat to track, only presence remains. And presence fully claimed cannot be invaded. Many people ask whether this ritual works permanently. What they are really asking is whether they can return to unconscious habits and still remain protected. This is where honesty is required. Nothing works permanently if the life itself remains misaligned. A single moment of awareness can be powerful, but permanence is created through posture, how you live, how you speak, how you rest, how you respond when no one is watching. Protection is not an event, it is a state, and states are maintained through repetition, not obsessive repetition but consistent alignment. When your daily life reflects clarity, the ritual becomes a reinforcement, not a repair. When your daily life is chaotic, the ritual becomes a temporary pause before the noise returns. Alignment begins with simple things: how you wake up, whether your first thought is gratitude or worry, how you treat your body with sleep, food, and movement. A tired body is more suggestible. A restless mind is easier to influence. These are not spiritual ideas, they are practical realities. When discipline is missing in the physical, disturbance appears in the mental. Words matter as well. Constant complaining, gossip, and self-criticism lower internal order. They fragment attention. Alignment requires clean speech, not silence, but intention. Speak what is necessary, speak what is true, speak what stabilizes rather than agitates. The more measured your words become, the less noise you carry. Daily alignment also shows in response. When something unexpected happens, do you tighten or soften? Do you rush to judgment or pause? The pause is where permanence is built. Each pause trains the nervous system to trust stillness. Over time, stillness becomes default. And when stillness is default, disturbances find no home. Many believe protection is about building walls. It is not. Walls require constant guarding. Alignment creates a current. Anything out of harmony naturally moves away. This is why certain problems resolve themselves once you stop chasing solutions. When your inner state changes, your environment reorganizes. The ritual, practiced consistently, becomes a reminder of this alignment. 3 minutes of stillness reinforces hours of discipline, but if the rest of the day contradicts those 3 minutes, the effect fades quickly. Integrity between action and awareness is what gives permanence. Notice how people who are grounded do not speak about protection often. They do not fear attack. They are not preoccupied with what others might do to them. Their energy is collected. Their attention is stable. This is the outcome of alignment lived, not imagined. When alignment becomes your lifestyle, the ritual no longer feels urgent. It feels natural. It feels like returning to yourself. And in that return, there is nothing to remove, nothing to send away, nothing to defend against. Because permanence is not achieved by doing more rituals. It is achieved by becoming someone who no longer needs them.